social housing for New Zealanders.
The Honourable Annette King.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. I have to say to the Minister, he's getting rather overexcited.
Right.
And I suggest that maybe he calms down if he's going to take another call. Because one thing Chris Hipkins, the very good member for Rimutaka, did not say that he wanted to keep crappy houses in Pomare. He is very aware that there were substandard houses there that needed to be replaced. But maybe the Minister doesn't know. For 5 long years, they were left neglected, run down and emptied out by this government with nothing happening to the houses at Pomare. So maybe the Minister needs to be get more up to date on what actually is happening. For example, he said Labor wanted to keep gang members in Pomare. Does the Minister know where they've gone now? Has he any idea what's happened to them? Does he know where? Come on, Minister, where have the gang members gone now? They've been rehoused somewhere else. They don't just disappear in a puff of smoke and no longer exist, Minister. They're rehoused somewhere else. So what a pathetic argument that was. The other thing the Minister said was that you can't build your way out of a social housing crisis. Well, look, I know the Minister, when he's in his own electorate, would be visiting the Salvation Army and telling them what a wonderful job they do and how much he values them, how much he likes them. Well, if that is the case, and he's nodding, if that is the case, Minister, why don't you agree with the Salvation Army, who said exactly that last week? That what you have to do is build your way out of the social housing problem in New Zealand. You are not going to solve the social housing problem in New Zealand by reshifting the houses around as to who owns them, runs them. You actually need to have more houses in New Zealand. And even their own mates, the New Zealand Initiative, that right-wing think tank, said that we're 80,000 houses short in New Zealand. And then he mentioned, I'm just replying to the Minister himself, he mentioned the captain of the ship who is in a state house in Nelson. How long's he been there, Minister? How long have you been in government? Has he been there 5 years? Has this government moved him on? Is he paying market rent? What responsibility does the Minister take for a captain living in a house for 5 years? The very thing he would have criticised a Labor government for. Look, I have to tell you that I know Nick Smith now in a number of portfolios, and unfortunately, like most of his portfolios, he's out of touch. I say bring back Phil Heatley, because at least Phil Heatley understood the housing portfolio. You see, Nick Smith was out of touch with local government. He was out of touch when he had ACC, and now he's out of touch and ignorant when it comes to housing, because he claims many things that are not true. For example, he claimed that the Housing Shareholders Advisory Group were in favour of renewable tenancies. That is totally untrue. This is what the report explicitly recommends. They recommend against reviewable tenancy for existing tenants. Did you know that, Minister? You said the absolute opposite a minute ago. No, this is what it said. No existing tenant should have his or her lease simply terminated. Here we have been guided by the principle of offer, not push, while it would in theory be possible for the Housing Corporation to reassess all sitting tenants at the time of their annual review and give tenants adequate notice, we do not support this option. The Minister said that's right, but he didn't wait for me to finish their full statement. What did they say, Minister? Half a truth you gave then. They said, we do not support, yes, full quote, let me read the full quote. We do not support this option. Don't tell me to read the full quote, Minister. Read it yourself. Read it yourself. And then we have some of the most informed people in New Zealand talking about renewable tenancies. And they made submissions to the bill. Philippa Howden-Chapman, no one could doubt her credibility. And she put in a submission with others to the bill. and she said, we do not support the introduction of reviewable tenancies for all state tenants because, one, the lack of evidence provided for its efficacy. 2, its cost. 3, the health effects of the lack of security of tenure. 4, the health effects of displacement. And 5, the health effects of moving people from state to private rentals and the effects on children's education. That is the truth, Mr. Speaker.
I call the honourable member
Mr. Speaker.
Dennis O'Rourke.
Chairman, this bill is the most objective